I'm not from here, so.
Those people are the people that got burnt and hurt not only during the first buyout that occurred between 1937 and 1946, pertaining to the major buyout that basically Congress gave TVA a license and said, here, do as you wish.
Right.
You know.
Now this is the Hawkins people.
No. Hawkins, Mr. Hawkins was actually from East Tennessee, and his wife was from East Kentucky, and his wife was Western Kentucky. But Mr. Hawkins works for Land Between the Lakes.
Oh, does he?
Works for that agency up there.
Okay, but not in law enforcement.
Well, his wife does. His wife's in law enforcement because she's basically a receptionist that works for law enforcement up there.
Okay.
But they got it in for me because I was spending entirely too much time up there. And the only reason why that this has drawn to my attention today.
They're saying you need a backwood permit.
Oh, I had all kind of permits. I had all kind of permits. But the reason why that this interests me today is because of what prior President JFK done about a month before he was assassinated. I say a month. It was within that time frame. It was one of the last major achievements that he achieved as being president before he got assassinated. And tomorrow is his anniversary of his assassination. Tomorrow is. And that's what drives me up this way towards actually doing some scouting around, towards trying to find out more about the property, who it belonged to, who it got exchanged over. And if I need to go over here, then I need to go over there. But yeah, I've had a rough run-in with them people.
Have you ever been to the Daily Plaza up there?
The what?
The Daily Plaza in Dallas?
Dallas, Texas?
Yeah, where you got shot.
No.
We went up there last year.
I mean, I've been to Dallas several different times, but I ain't never been to that particular palace.
Never went to it. We went up there last year. It was either last year or year before last. Because my boys live there now. You know, so we went to go see them.
Sure.
And of course, history is.
Oh yeah.
You know, I came home from school to find out Kennedy got shot.
Oh yeah.
That's how old I am. But
was it as heartbreaking and as devastating as what people say it was at that time?
Yeah. Got to stand on the grassy knoll.
Did you?
Yeah, and of course watch the films.
Right.
You know, and of course they lean against the conspiracy theory. You know, they want you to believe that he was a lone shooter. You know, and
in other words, he was just a wild maniac, a loner out here doing something crazy.
Right, with a Russian wife. You know, so you know it was interesting I'm one of them guys that if I stand on a spot, I relive the moment. You know,
what hit you?
You know,
tell me how you felt.
And I just, I don't know. I don't know how I actually felt because
you feel saddened.
Well, naturally, yeah.
Did you feel like that you was a part of history at that particular moment because you was standing on the knoll?
Yeah, because I visualized the car coming down.
Sure.
I visualized the people because you saw the 8mm films.
Sure.
Know, the people ducking.
Sure.
The people running. You know, we went up behind the picket fence. You know, up on top of the grassy knoll, and then we walked across that crosswalk where the road come down. You know.
Right. You was right there at it then.
Oh, and they still got the 2 X's where you got hit.
Oh, really?
The first shot that hit him, and they got an X in the road, and then coming on down the fatal shot.
Really?
You know.
Well, let me tell you what.
And then I got to stand at the window that Lee Harvey Oswald stayed at.
Right.
And look down, you know, at the street. And of course, the tree's bigger. And
do you believe in the crazy theory with the bullet bouncing around?
No,
I don't either.
I've watched that film a million times.
According to some of the material that I have captured on the internet, There was actually 3 shots that was fired that day.
Mm-hmm. There's one that they say hit the light pole, the stoplight. There's one that hit the sidewalk down there by the drainage.
And the last one is the one that
You know.
hit him in the back of the head that basically exploded his
Then
head.
why did the back of his head go backwards? Why did his skull go toward the spare tire? Because Jackie got up on the trunk of the car to pick up that skull.
Well, let me ask you this. Their theory of the Oklahoma bombing is that it was all created by Timothy McVeigh and Nichols pertaining to a Ryder truck and 3,000 pounds of ammonia nitrate that blowed up the Mariel building that was parked directly in front of that building. How come all the material out of that federal building, instead of it being blowed in the same direction that the explosion would have pushed all the material, which would have been the opposite direction, how come that building was basically split in half,
Like an implosion.
defaced, and all the material was blown back towards the Ryder truck instead of away from the Ryder truck? See, you're running into the same type of scenario there.
Mm-hmm.
Towards it, it's counterproductive in the way that genetics should go. You know, what goes up must come down.
Right, right,
2 + 2 = 4.
right. And energy and inertia, you know.
Right, right. These things don't add up. Okay, what I have found out about JFK is that within about a month, it may have been a month and a half, may have been 2 months, but it was a short time period that he flew over the peninsula in the state of Tennessee and Kentucky and actually owns or did own some property north of Grand Rivers because,
He owned it?
yes, owned some property out there that they developed. There were some major developers out there that wanted to develop it, okay? You keep in mind that L.B.L. has a history towards going through some bad episodes pertaining to TVA. Whenever Congress gave TVA the license to where they could do whatever that they wanted to do towards basically buying people property for as much as $10, $12, $15 an acre in the late 30s throughout the 40s before they actually built the dams and flooded the Tennessee River and flooded the Cumberland River, they was basically stealing property back then, because back then whenever you surveyed, you know how they surveyed back then?
With chains and...
With steps. You know, you step off 300 steps this way and 300 steps this way and 300 steps this way, and there's your an acre.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back then, you could have missed and hit a 100-acre farm for as much as 10, 12, maybe 20 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that they was going by was what the owner said that the deed called for. Well, once more, they was hurting those people in that way, first of all, that caused a great deal of controversy on the second buyout. The first buyout was bad enough whenever TVA bought everything that was going to be flooded throughout the late 30s, throughout the early 40s. But then whenever Kennedy flew over the property, because I've done a great deal of research up there towards knowing what went on during that time, because TVA actually tried to develop a park up in the L.B.L. that was a total flop, a total failure.
Really?
Yes, you can there's a park up there, a RV park that you can walk into right now. It's all grown up, that has concrete bathrooms, concrete picnic tables. The roads is all grown up, but it used to be asphalt, where TVA went in there and probably invested $1 million, maybe $1.5 million in that project that basically went flop. And the reason why it went flop is because the people had already been diminished of losing out on the first buyout with TVA, and then all of a sudden here comes President Kennedy that turns it into a major federal hunting forest, declares it a total loss, and tells everybody to get off the property. Well, at that time, between 1947, whenever they actually flooded it, Between 1947 and 1963, that was a prominent business up there. Prominent business. You keep in mind they'd done already lost 2 major towns. One of them was the town of Birmingham. And I forgot that
underwater.
It's underwater. There's another town up there that was a pretty big town. Churches, schools,
L.B.L was moved.
libraries, everything. But
Now this campground you're talking about, is it on the Tennessee side or the Kentucky side?
on-
Because there used to be.
it's right on the point.
Because there used
It's
to
right
be,
on the point where the Tennessee and Kentucky state line meet.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been on the point or not, to where you can look down the Tennessee River to the south and you'll see about a mile, and you can look over to the north and you'll see about a mile.
Because there used to be Piney Campground.
Yeah.
Hillman Ferry. You know, of course, they got Energy Lake now. And they had.
Joanne or Janet or something like that.
There's another campground
Yeah,
that used to be open. That was electricity. Da 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 da.
right,
And they closed that. That was after I was grown.
right,
You know, camping at Piney before I moved to Sturgis.
right.
And I can't remember the name of that campground now.
But there's a tie-off.
But
This is the part you're not hearing me on. There's a tie-off between the assassination of Kennedy and what went on up there.
It was the Kentucky side.
No, the whole thing. Stewart County too. There was a tie-off
But you said he was,
between the assassination, and the reason why is because there was moonshiners that had invaded that area after all that had occurred, and they had a prominent business towards running whiskey from here to Chicago and here to Indianapolis, and it wasn't nothing uncommon up in the Kentucky area for them to lose 7, 8,
Right.
10 revenuers a year.
Yeah.
7, 8, 10, they just disappeared. No one knew where they was. No one knew where they happened to them. What happened to them? They run upon some of them steel makers out there, and they wound up killing them and throwing them in the daggum river. That's what happened to them. But whenever Kennedy flew over and declared it a total loss, somebody pissed off somebody that was associated with the mob, because there was too much money being made and all that. This was shortly right after the Prohibition days, and just because the Prohibition days come in effect, that don't mean that they quit making moonshine.
Well,
They were
okay.
still making moonshine even back in the '60s. Matter of fact, you can go to East Tennessee and they're still making moonshine.
Let's see how much of a historian you are. How did Kennedy's daddy make his money?
Off of rum,
Moonshine.
moonshine. Yes, sir.
During the Prohibition.
During the Prohibition days. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I knew that. But there's
I lived on Cape Cod for a year also.
You did.
Yeah.
Ain't that beautiful up there?
And got to
How'd you
see-
wind up affording that?
And
You must have been in the military or something.
no, my dad got transferred up there during my senior year of high school, and then I came back to there.
That's some ritzy property up there.
But my brother still lives on Cape Cod.
I think,
in
if I'm not
Sandwich.
mistaken, Bushes owns a big piece of property.
That's up in Kennebuck.
Kennebuck, okay.
Kennebuck, Maine.
Yeah, Kennebuck,
You know,
Maine. That's
right,
where that is.
Right above.
How close is
above
that
it.
to where you're talking about? 200 miles?
Less than that. Boston is probably 30, 40 miles from Kennebuck, and then the Cape's about, what would you say, Dick, about 50 miles from the Cape.
So they're just right there together then, aren't
Yeah, but the Kennedy compound is there. You know, where Kennedy's daddy lived.
Okay.
Well, the Kennedys still live
they?
there.
Okay.
You know, and so I got to see all that.
You sure did.
You know, and then being with the association of my age and the events, and I was watching when Robert Kennedy got shot on TV, saw that live happening,
No, you didn't.
you know, yeah.
What?
So, you know, that was in '68, but, you know,
Was
but it was.
wasn't it Bobby Kennedy that was the right underneath his brother?
Edward,
No, Bobby. Yeah, Bobby.
Bobby, it was Edward's one that killed the girl, wasn't it?
I think so.
On the.
But who was it?
Nantucket.
Who was it that was kicking up towards
So now
wanting to bust everybody, towards taking over the moonshining business?
Okay, now that I don't.
That was
know.
Bobby, right?
So there were several brothers and there's a couple of sisters involved with that.
He was the Attorney General.
Yeah, he was the Attorney General.
Okay, he was the Attorney General. And I always thought that maybe he got assassinated because of stuff that Bobby was involved in towards going around kind of like Buford Pulser.
Yeah.
Towards breaking up the gang. Hey, y'all ain't gonna no longer do this stuff no longer. We're gonna take over this industry.
Right. Well, did
but in reality, now I can't prove this, and I wish that I could. But whenever you're dealing with this type of money and these type of powerful people, they have ways of covering up their tracks.
Oh yeah.
But I have been to numerous hundreds of dozens of people's homes up in this area and done hands-on interviews of just exactly what I'm telling you right now, almost per word for word verbatim of what I'm telling you that actually occurred, that to this day there are still people living that believe the reason why that Mr. JFK got assassinated was because of what went on up here.
Really?
In Stewart County
and
all those other counties. What is that? Trigg County, Caldwell County. There's like 6 or 7 Kentucky counties, and there's only one Tennessee county. So naturally, Stewart County wouldn't be near as involved with the big money part of it.
That's what they were.
As what they are here in Stewart County.
Yeah, there's supposed to be cars up there at that bridge.
But now this
underwater. It's full of moonshine.
Right. But this is not rumor. What I'm fixing to tell you. Whenever they got took over, whenever the agreement was made in 1963 on the Kentucky books, not the Tennessee books, but the Kentucky books, is if that property ever become public domain again, to where it could independently be sold, the people that originally had ties to it had first grabs. They had first grabs.
I've heard that.
Okay.
I've not seen that.
You figure that type of property now, today, with that type of view, just a 5-acre lot alone would probably bring $250,000 without it even having a house on it. If you could buy it. If an individual could actually buy that piece of property on that peninsula up in the L.B.L. area. There are spots up there that is that breathtaking. Mm-hmm. If you got that kind of waterfront view. So that's going to push out the common folks. So ain't nobody going to be available to buy property like that other than lawyers, bankers, football players, investors, Hollywood movie stars, etc. But what they was going to do was let a certain amount of people die out. And then they was going to do just exactly that. They was going to go back and they was going to reopen it back up for public domain. And naturally they was going to give people the opportunity that had tidings to the original land grants back then. But you know as well as I do, they ain't going to be able to afford on an open sale, a hidden bid. They're not going to be able to compete with people like bankers and lawyers and stuff like that.
Do they just have the opportunity to buy back?
But what messed them up is, I went up there, and like I told you earlier, I've spent almost a year up in L.B.L. in different intervals. And I planted a Indian Native American site up there that basically knocked their plans in the head. And because of it, I've actually had death threats. I've made a lot of enemies up there because you're dealing with a lot of money. So I'm up here today doing my own little investigation towards what kind of close tidings does Stewart County have with L.B.L. And plus with the holiday, or with the anniversary coming up tomorrow, with JFK, with him being assassinated, I felt like that it was appropriate for me to come from Weakley County up here today and do some talking with some people.
Yeah. Where is that agreement? Have you seen it?
Who?
The agreement.
No, I have not seen the original agreement.
It is.
Just like there's still supposedly things in the books up in the state courthouse, the state capitol up there at Franklin, Kentucky, to where homesteading is still on their books, to where if you can prove that you was on a piece of property for, I think it's 49 days or more, you can actually go to the courthouse and fill out paperwork on saying that this property belongs to me. And that's one reason why that they are so.
And on about the 21 days.
Yes, they have a policy of 21 days that if you stay over 21 days, they're going to be on your rear end. And they monitor that whole area very, very closely. The thing about it is, before the Federal Forest Service took it over in 1999, coming into 2000, I actually went up there and stayed on a piece of property for 40 days and 40 nights. So I exceeded my time period because I was up there during that time and actually called it home. Yeah. I built a praying site. I built an altar up there that's all in rock form. Made them mad because they thought that I was going to homestead. They thought that I was literally going to fill out some paperwork and going to homestead on them. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm actually planting my estate pertaining to the Cherokee that's in me, the Native American, that messed them all up there because they had big plans going to turn that back over to the public. Now, whether or not my work is effective or not, I can't guarantee you that.
I just wonder where that paperwork is because I've never seen it.
Yes, I've talked to too many people because they used to have all kinds of meetings up there in Kentucky. There'd be like 150, 200 men that would gather up and talk about this stuff. You know, people that know that their parents got burnt out of a lot of money and out of a lot of land up in that area. Right. And there's still hard feelings up there. You can still go up there to this day, and you'll still find people that are very, very bitter towards what went on, not only with TVA, but with what went on with Kennedy flying over and declaring it as a loss.
They've had meetings here.
Have they?
You know.
Over the property?
Over the property.
They probably have.
You know, with L.B.L.
Yeah. And eventually, those people are going to die off to where the resistance won't be near as powerful, won't be near as strong. Right. And whenever they do, their hopes are towards going to turn it back over to the public.
But the resistance is still there right now.
Yeah.
What I've seen.
Yeah, to some degree, it sure is. Oh, yeah. And it will probably be there for the next 50 years. Yeah. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you.